The station went off air decades ago. So tell me, who's the woman whispering through the static? The red on-air sign flickered weakly above the booth door, bathing the cramped studio in a dull crimson glow. It was nearly 2:37 a.m., the hour when the world outside had fallen silent, and the only things awake were truckers, insomniacs, and ghosts of bad memories. Evan Cole leaned into the microphone, his voice smooth but tired. All right, folks, this is Evan on Night Whispers Radio, keeping you company through the long, dark hours. Lines are open if you got a story or just need someone to listen. He smiled faintly, though no one could see it. Talking to the empty air had become second nature. Ratings had been dropping for years. AM radio wasn't what it used to be. Still, he loved it. The hush between words, the crackle of static, the faint comfort in knowing someone might be out there listening. He took a sip of cold coffee, about to cue up a late-night blues track, when something strange happened. A low hiss crawled through his headset. Then 3 distinct knocks. Tap, tap, tap. He frowned. Heh, all right. If that's one of you prank callers trying to spook me, nice try. Frequency's 107.3, folks, not the Twilight Zone. But no one laughed. The signal kept pulsing, irregular like a heartbeat. He glanced at the monitor. The transmission source wasn't listed. No incoming line, no ID. He slowly turned a dial, trying to clear the interference. That's when he heard it. A whisper. Evan. He froze. The voice was faint, buried beneath static. But it was his name. He sat back, staring at the board. All right, he said softly, forcing a chuckle. Somebody's playing games. Probably Tony from Tech, right? Cute. But Tony was home. The graveyard shift was all his tonight. He replayed the tape. The whisper was gone. Just empty static. By 3 a.m., the signal returned, this time stronger. A sequence of soft beeps cut through the hum, followed by coordinates spoken in a distorted female voice. 47.26 minus 118. 13. He jotted them down without thinking, his heart thudding. Somewhere in Washington State. Middle of nowhere. Then came another voice, older, broken. Help, please. If you can hear this. The transmission cut off. Evan stared at the console, unsure whether to end the show or call the police. But what would he even say? A ghost left me GPS coordinates? They'd laugh him off the air. Instead, he decided to follow it. Not right now, but tomorrow. He had to know. By daylight, the whole thing seemed ridiculous. He sat in his car, staring at the coordinates on his phone. His producer had called earlier, scolding him for missing last night's show wrap-up. Evan brushed it off, telling her he'd had technical issues. But the truth gnawed at him. After a long drive through winding forest roads, he reached the spot. The GPS pinged. He was there. A field stretched before him flat and gray beneath an overcast sky. Nothing but wind and the faint buzz of old power lines. Then he saw it. Half buried in the mud was an old metal radio tower, rusted and crumbling, its cables snaked into the earth like veins. A faded sign nearby read, WSR 107.3 FM, Signal of the North. He stepped closer, his breath clouding. No way, he murmured. The station had been shut down in the early 90s after a transmitter fire. He remembered reading about it as a kid. People had died. As he walked around the base of the tower, his phone buzzed violently. The coordinates shifted on their own, pointing now to the far side of the structure. There, tangled in weeds, sat a small metal case. He opened it. Inside was an old microphone, burned but intact. A label still clung to its side. Property of WSR. Host, Marla Dane. Evan's pulse quickened. Marla Dane, she'd vanished after the fire. The paper said she was never found. He picked up the mic. It was ice cold, almost painfully so. And when he lifted it to his lips, a faint sound came through, like a sigh. Evan, can you hear me? He dropped it instantly, stumbling back. The voice was real. It was her. That night, back in his studio, he sat before his equipment, the burned microphone now connected to his board. Every logical part of him screamed to stop, but something deeper, a pull he couldn't name, urged him to listen. He switched on the feed. Static filled the room. Then, through the hiss, Marla's voice came again. I used to sit where you sit now. I thought I was alone too, but the signal, it remembers. Evan's throat tightened. What do you want from me? Keep the broadcast alive, she whispered. They need to be heard. Who? The answer came not in words, but in sound. A flood of overlapping voices burst through the speakers, crying, pleading, shouting for help. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Evan clutched his headphones, eyes wide. What is this? They're the lost, Marla said softly. People who vanished between signals. Every voice ever broadcast but never heard. The airwaves keep their echoes. You opened the channel. The lights in the booth flickered. A cold wind swept through the room, though every door was shut. Evan's heartbeat thundered. I didn't open anything. Yes, you did, Marla whispered, when you listened. The audio meters spiked violently. A shriek tore through the monitors loud enough to rattle the glass. Evan yanked the cords, shutting off the power. Everything went silent. 3 nights later, Night Whispers radio aired again, but the voice wasn't Evan's. It was calmer, softer, female. Good evening, listeners, she said, her tone smooth as velvet. You're listening to the silent broadcast. Tonight's message is for Evan Cole. Thank you for hearing us. In a dark corner of the studio, the new host smiled faintly into the red glow of the on-air sign. The microphone she spoke into was scorched at the base, wires faintly humming. And on the console, buried under dust and static, Evan's old headset still rested where he'd left it, its ear cups faintly whispering through the night. If you tuned in close enough, you could still hear him. This is Evan on Night Whispers, keeping you company through the dark. The voice would fade, replaced by static, and then a whisper. Can you hear me now?